There's a thin...
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Capes and Lunatics Book Club, Episode 10. We are pleased and honored to have... All right, shut that up. All right, we are pleased and honored to have author, journalist, Jesse J. Holland with us. Hello, Jesse.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. And of course, we're heathens here, so we're not going to ask you about your nonfiction work or, your journalism. We're interested in superheroes and comic books here, so we wanted to talk about your book, Who is the Black Panther?
Excellent.
Which I'm sure, I don't know if you checked, but I'm sure sales of this probably went up the last couple of days for some reason.
Yeah, for some strange reason, it seems to be selling out everywhere.
That's what we were just talking about. Because Lilith said she was looking at the Barnes & Noble was sold out, and Amazon, like, the price was, like, almost doubled. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I saw one copy of it on Amazon, so someone was trying to sell it for $600.
Is it autographed at least?
No, I know I haven't signed it.
Wow. Maybe your retirement fund, start autographing, so that's your retirement.
Exactly.
Wow, $600. But again, thank you for joining us. I know I usually start off. I was watching a video on YouTube somewhere. I don't know where it was from, but I guess you've been a lifelong comic book fan, like me and Lilith here.
Yeah, I actually started reading comic books when I was about 5 or 6 years old. So I've been reading comic books my entire life, and I still read them to this day. I'm a proud Comixology subscriber. And a subscriber to Marvel Unlimited as well. So I'm still reading up to this day.
That was going to be my next question, if you're reading currently. But and I know I think you said Black Panther was one of your first. Was he your first book or
no? If I'm remembering correctly, Incredible Hulk, Avengers, and Fantastic Four were the first 3 comic books that I can remember reading. It was this story of the Hulk on a planet where there had been this years-long war, and the people had forgotten how to understand each other, and the Hulk gets thrown in the middle of it. This was when Doctor Strange had put him at the crossroads of infinity.
Yeah.
It was one of those one-shot tales,
mm-hmm.
and that was my first introduction to Hulk. I can't remember which Avengers story it was, but the cover of it said "Seasons of the Witch," and it had the Scarlet Witch on the front. So I've been reading for a very long time, and like I said, I still read today.
So when did you discover Black Panther?
Well, I discovered Black Panther during and it was an Avengers comic book. He was a member of the Avengers when I first discovered him. And it was one of those things where he was not the center of the story. He was just one of the Avengers. And I remember wondering who this guy was, what he looked like under the mask. It was a full face mask. So I remember searching out, because back in those days, this was before I was able to go to comic book shops. So it was really hard to get backstory on anything that wasn't on the stand that month. So I remember it being a while before I could actually figure out who he was and just being so fascinated with him.
I remember those days. These kids these days don't know our struggle where they can just like jump on an app or online and find this stuff,
Right. I mean, back in the day, if you didn't already own it, you had to find somebody else who did, because there were no comic book stores you could go to.
Mm-mm. Everything
that was sold that month. And if you didn't have a friend who had the collection, you were just lost until someone came along to explain what happened.
Or you found some flea market where somebody was selling their old copies or something. Yeah,
exactly.
Those times sound like dark times.
You born millennials, get out of here.
Can I ask you how you got tapped to write this book?
Oh, sure. Well, it's all about being in the right place at the right time. I know we weren't going to talk about it, but it actually started with my nonfiction work. So I published my most recent nonfiction novel, The Invisibles, The Untold Story of African-American Slaves in the White House. It came out in January of 2016. Well, it just so happens that an editor at Lucasfilm read The Invisibles, and she loved it. And she looked on my Facebook page and saw that I was also a big Star Wars fan. Star Wars was actually the first movie I ever saw in a movie theater. My teacher back in the first grade took the entire first grade class to go see the first Star Wars. Now, what the educational purpose of that was, I have no idea, but I'm glad she did. Well, I get the Star Wars contract to write Star Wars The Force Awakens Finn's story. And it comes out in late 2016. Well, an editor at Marvel read Finn's story. And they contact me through email, and I call them, and they're like, well, have you ever heard of the Black Panther? And I'm like, yeah. Like, well, we have this movie coming out in a couple of years, and we need a novel that updates the Panther's origin, comic book origin, for 2017, 2018. We need somebody to write a novel that will reintroduce this character to people who don't read comic books. And we see that you like doing history. We see you can write a novel because we have a Star Wars novel come out. Would you be willing to take this on? And I was like, well, let me think about it. Yes. It took me a grand total of like 2 seconds to say yes. But of course, with all things, there was a catch. The catch was I had 6 months from start to finish. So the entire novel had to be written and completed in 6 months. So it was a fun challenge to get it all together and get it the way we wanted it to look and get it done in time for it to come out. I think last September.
Well, it's kind of loosely based on the 2005 thing, but you did put your own spin on it. So did that make it easier or harder to work with what they gave you?
It made it a little bit easier because a lot of the hard work, the characterizations, had already been put in place by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Because T'Challa from 1966, the basic tenets of his character are still the same today. There's not much work that had to be done on that. So when Reginald Hudlin came along in 2015 and rewrote the origin to make it more modern, a lot of the heavy work for me was done by those writers. So all I had to do is take that basic framework of that story and update it again to where it's relevant today. A lot of the work that Reginald Hudlin did, he created some of the characters that we're dealing with in the novel and the movie. Christopher Priest came along and came up with Adora Mahali, and you have Reginald Hudlin with his creation of Shuri. So a lot of the heavy work was already done. All I had to do is put the characters through their paces in the modern world. To me, the toughest part of writing fiction is coming up with the personality quirks that everyone has. Everyone has these little things that they do, the ways that they talk. But for me, a lot of that work was already done by the great writers who came before me. I just had to update the settings.
And that's what I was reading a lot of the reviews, and they said, yeah, it really rung true. And I totally agree with them. And the dialogue was actually very fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you. Like I said, one of the reasons why I was lucky enough to get this project, the Black Panther project, is that a lot of the research material that Marvel had intended to send the writer of this novel, they didn't have to send me because they're already downstairs in my basement. All of those that original Reginald Hudlin run on Black Panther, I own the original copies. The original Christopher Priest run, where Everett Ross is first introduced, that comic book is in my basement. So a lot of the research that maybe another writer who wasn't as familiar with the Panther would have to do, I didn't have to do it because I remembered it from when it first came out and thinking about how crazy with the stuff that Christopher Priest was doing, thinking about how crazy cool Shuri was when Reginald Hudlin introduced her. So I mean, any project like this is a challenge, but I felt I had a leg up considering that I was already familiar with the characters and with the storylines that I had to deal with.
Do you get like any notes from the movie people? Like you have to have certain things in the book or don't do this in the book?
Well, amazingly enough, the movie project was completely separate from the work here. I didn't get a chance to see the screenplay for the movie or anything during the whole process. And in addition, Marvel also asked me not to read the Ta-Nehisi Coates version of Black Panther because they wanted this novel to deal with the Reginald Hudlin and back, not anything forward, because the character that the work that Ta-Nehisi Coates is doing is still ongoing. So it's hard to write a novel off of something that's being created, but the Reginald Hudlin version was already set in stone. I could look at his entire arc and see what he was intending to do with the character. Ta-Nehisi Coates is still developing his. So even though I have to admit, I did sneak a couple of peeks at what Ta-Nehisi Coates is doing, because I love how he's changed, how he's written himself into the Black Panther mythology by getting a defined map of Wakanda, to actually giving the city's name. It's not just the Golden City anymore. It has a name. So I did sneak a couple of things like that in there, but most of the work is Reginald Hudlin and back.
Yeah, his current stuff is incredible.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I luckily enough, now that I'm done with this, I've gone back and started reading all of his stuff and just absorbing it as it's coming out on Marvel Unlimited. As much as I like Marvel Unlimited, that time lag between what's on the shelf and what's in that database is killing me. Because I walk through a Barnes and Nobles, I go into a comic book shop, and I see the most recent version, and I have to say, don't read it. It's going to spoil the next one you're going to get on Marvel Unlimited. So
they are updating that timetable faster and faster, though. It seems like every year more stuff is in the database. They might actually go ahead and change it too.
I hope they do. So
that's why I have to go to the shop every Wednesday. Black Panther Annual 1 came out today. There's like 3 short stories. There's one by Christopher Priest and there's one by Hudlin in there. So
wow. See, now you're gonna make me have to go back and pick that up. I've been trying my best to stay out of comic book shops because I already have too many in the basement. I'll actually be at a comic book shop for the first time in I don't know how long tomorrow. I'm going to Phantom Comics in DC tomorrow to do a book event. Nice. So that'll be like the first time I've set foot in a comic book shop in I don't know how long, because I've tried to move more to the more digital copies, so because they don't take up space in my house and I don't have to hear discussions in my family about comic books laying all around.
Oh, that was the big selling
point.
Bill
and I know the problem.
That was one of the big selling points when I bought this house 10 years ago. There was like a couple built-in shelves in the basement, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I feel your pain.
Did you get did they let you see the movie early?
I actually got to see the movie. The premiere was in Los Angeles on like a Tuesday. I got to see it in Manhattan the Monday after that. So Marvel Entertainment invited me to come up to see it with some Marvel people in New York. So I got to see it the week before it premiered. So today is Thursday? I've seen it 3 times now. Yeah, and probably we'll see it for a 4th time this weekend. It's that good. It's just
I'm in love with that movie. Yeah, it's good. And I'm a DC person, like all the way.
Yeah.
But I love this movie. It's so stunning.
Believe me, I completely understand. I have to shamefully admit, I finally got around to seeing Justice League last night.
I'm sorry.
For the very
apologize.
And I have to, as much as I love DC, Michael Schilling, who's DC Entertainment's PR guy, he and I have been friends for a long time. I have to say, I'm glad I didn't pay theater prices for it.
Yeah, no, it's nowhere near Black Panther. Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, I have to say that DC is doing a much better job on their TV products, than they are on their movie products right now. In my opinion, I mean, I'm loving Flash and Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow and Black Lightning. I'm loving those. I'm watching. I'm kind of iffy on Green Arrow now. Green Arrow, I mean, it's getting a little bit too Batman-ish for me. and now they're moving into this whole Oliver Queen as mayor thing, and just, I mean, I still watch it, but I'm really into Black Lightning and Flash and Supergirl. Those are my 3 DC products right now.
Has he been spying on you, Lilith? That's what she. That's what
Yeah,
she feels.
exactly.
She used to love Arrow, and now it's just like she's like.
Well, I mean, out of all of the products that DC has, what, 5 products on TV right now: Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends, and Black Lightning. I would say right now, Black Lightning is my favorite, with Supergirl and Flash both running close second, and then Legends, and then Green Arrow.
That's about the fandom consensus, to be honest. Although a lot of people, when you like fun, like if you're just there for fun, Legends is that show for you. It's just fun, ridiculous. They lean into it.
Exactly. You can tell they're having fun, and I mean, they had. I think was it last week they had John Constantine on.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yeah.
You need to bring John Constantine back. That's the one that they need to be showing right now.
Oh yeah.
I love that original. But I think they only did like 7 or 8 episodes of Constantine.
Yeah, just one.
That show was great though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the one they need to bring back to CW. But I was all into Arrow when it first came out, and still those first couple of seasons of Arrow, I still consider them to be great. But I mean, when Flash came along, Flash had that different attitude. They had that more sunny attitude, that superhero attitude that you loved. And then Supergirl comes along and takes that attitude to a completely different level. So, I mean, I'm loving the DC products on television. I'm still a Christopher Nolan, a Dark Knight fan. That they haven't topped the Dark Knight for me yet. They got to top that one for me to say that the DC movie products are all the way out there. The Dark Knight to me is probably my favorite superhero movie before Black Panther came out. The Dark Knight would probably be it. So they have a lot to live up to top that movie for me.
But yeah, I mean that TV crossover, I like that better than even the Justice League movie.
That would have been a good movie.
Yes.
Crisis on Earth X. Oh yeah, that would have been a good movie. So I mean, like I said, DC's doing really great with their TV products. They got to step up a little bit when it comes to the movie products. I'm still watching them. Obviously, I did buy Justice League to be able to see it the other night, but they've got to step up a lot to make the movie products at the same level for me as the TV products.
Yeah, I mean they want to be where Marvel's at now, but they haven't put in the time and work. Yeah, and now especially after Black Panther, they're just like, ugh.
Right. Well, I mean, okay, I do have to say, DC stepped up big time with Wonder Woman.
Yes,
big time with Wonder Woman. It's just that the rest of the universe needs to catch up to where she is.
Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
See, we're together. We're together.
So are you just not reading anything current Marvel? Do you read anything DC or Dark Horse or anything like that current?
Well, most of the readings I do are now digital, so I'm reading a lot of stuff. I'm catching up on a lot of stuff through Comixology. I read a lot. I read a lot of stuff from Dark Horse. I used to be all into Image. I've sort of slid a little bit. I'm backsliding a little bit on Image, but I'm reading a lot of stuff as it becomes available on Comixology. I've always been a Flash fan, but I will say I'm a Wally West fan, and that might show my age a little bit. I'm still upset at how they brought Barry Allen back and pushed Wally West to the side, but I'm getting used to Barry Allen being the Flash again. I've always loved Batman. Batman's always been a great comic book for me. Justice League. I mean, I think the last time I was following last time I was reading on the shelf released monthly DC comic books was back around Blackest Night, around the Blackest Night series, because I think they did a really good job of weaving zombies into the DC world. Because they were basically, the Black Ring holders were basically zombies. They did a really good job of weaving zombies into the DC world, and they did a special Blackest Night episode comic book about Osiris, because I've always loved the Black Adam family, even more than Captain Marvel, Mary Marvel, and Captain Marvel Jr. I loved Black Adam, Isis, and Osiris. To me, they were always the more interesting characters, and so I'm really excited if they're actually going to do the Black Adam movie starring Dwayne Johnson. I really want to see that. And actually, I've dabbled in a bunch of different areas, but the one movie screenplay that I've written in my life was a Shazam screenplay starring Black Adam, not Captain Marvel. Because he's always been the more compelling character. He's always had the better origin. And especially, I think it was Mark Waid. It was the Mark Waid or Jerry Ordway who rewrote I think it was Mark Waid that rewrote the Black Adam's character using Kandak as him being the protector of that country, where he didn't just turn evil just because he doesn't even consider himself to be evil. He only lost his family because Shazam had him away fighting another battle. So all he's trying to do is make the world make sense for him. So to me, that's always been more compelling than someone just discovering the powers the way Billy Batson did. At least the last version of Shazam. I'm not quite sure exactly how Shazam works these days. Whether
You're just DC, it's okay.
Okay, good. So it's not just me. It's not just me. I will say I do like the new hooded cape, on Captain Marvel Shazam, because I actually finally got into Injustice for my PlayStation 4. So I haven't quite beat it yet. I just beat Mortal Kombat. So I'm now working on beating Injustice. And so I can then buy Injustice 2. So I can catch up to where everybody else is.
Even better. So you better hurry up and beat this game.
Yeah, I gotta beat it so I can get to the next one. But for him being a bad guy, my favorite part of the Shazam family is still Black Adam.
But I mean, you're definitely a fan. If they came to you, would you be interested in writing a monthly comic? If DC said, "Hey, Jesse, we need a Black Adam comic," would you do it?
In a heartbeat. I have already said publicly on my Facebook feed that if DC said right now you could take any character you wanted to, I mean, of course, I still take Batman, but if Batman wasn't available, Black Adam would be my second choice. To me, he's just such a great character.
With that movie, if it ever happens, I feel like they would probably try to put out at least a 6-issue miniseries or something.
Exactly. I mean,
so when that time comes, we'll petition for you. Don't you worry.
There you go. I need help. I need people on my side.
You got it.
Would it be Black Panther on the Marvel side if Marvel offered you a book?
Oh yes, it would be Panther in a heartbeat. But you know what? I'm trying not to spoil myself, because once again, I'm waiting for it to catch up on Marvel Unlimited, since I'm already paying for Marvel Unlimited. Mm-hmm. But I saw the solicitation for I think Falcon 5. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. That's Sam. Okay, no. I don't want to know how he gets back to being Falcon again. But you know what? I will say that I am glad if he's the Falcon again, I'm glad, because what normally happens when they change identities of a superhero, the person who is a replacement ends up dying for the original person to take the identity back. And that was one reason why I was so afraid when Sam Wilson became Captain America, because you knew eventually they were going to put Steve Rogers back in the uniform. And usually how they do it is they kill off the person who was a replacement. Yeah, so I just knew that they were going to kill off Sam Wilson. And I'm just so glad that they decided to figure out a way to make Steve Rogers Captain America again and keep Sam Wilson alive.
It's usually if they were with a newer guy, they kill him off. Yeah, Sam Wilson has too much history. They can't kill him off.
Yeah, well, we said that about Barry Allen too, though.
But he's back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's kind of people
30 years later, sure.
I mean, who stays dead?
But Ryan Choi, as the Atom, they killed him to bring Ray Palmer back. Who else have they done this to? John Stewart, they killed him for a while when they ended Mosaic. All of a sudden, all this crazy stuff happens to John Stewart. Luckily, he showed up in the Justice League cartoon, so now they can't touch him either.
Well, I shouldn't spoil for you either, but he's leading the Green Lantern Corps right now.
Oh, I mean, the work that was done with John Stewart and Green Lantern Mosaic, it seemed like DC immediately forgot all of the character growth that John Stewart went through in Mosaic. He should have been leading the Green Lantern Corps back then, because man, he was practically a Guardian by the end of that series, and all of a sudden they basically downgrade him to a Dark Star. But now I'm dating myself though, so.
Well, that's DC.
I was really into this stuff. I'm still really into this stuff.
Well, DC always reboots like 10 or 15 years, so it's like that's what gets people mad. You get these good stories, and then they're like, oh, that never happened. That's not canon anymore. Yeah,
exactly. So
only it did.
But I mean, that's the good thing about reading comic books, that you always have your memories of your favorite stories, and you can tell when writers like the same stuff that you did, because they'll try to find a way to work it back into the universe again. One of the things I love reading over and over is the Legion of Superheroes. I've read the Legion so many times. You can always see when you have a writer who grew up on the Great Darkness saga, because they start trying to move it back into continuity. You can always tell when you have a writer who read the same books that you did, because they try to bring that character back to where they think he or she should be.
So you said you're a fan of the Flash. So is that their daughter or is that their granddaughter?
Granddaughter.
Oh yeah, XS.
Yeah. I mean, I once again taking back. I remember the Tornado Twins. Mm-hmm. That's how far back I go with both Legion and Flash. I remember the Tornado Twins. I mean, I loved the Bart Allen Impulse. I didn't really like it when they made him Kid Flash. I think he was better as Impulse. But you know what? I always tell my friends at work this about comic books, because they're always talking about, well, you know, when I was reading comic books, Superboy wore the same costume as Superman. So it's not the real Superboy, because he's not wearing that same costume. I understand that for things to stay fresh, they have to change. All I ask for out of a comic book is a good story and good art. I'm not going to demand that the book has to be the same book I read when I was 7. I am going to demand that I have to recognize the character. I have to recognize the character that I've read my entire life, and it has to be a good story, and it has to have good art. If you can do that, that's great.
Jamie.
Yeah, I'm super fan.
Preaching to the choir on that one.
Oh yeah. Yes. Lilith, do you have anything else?
Not really. I mean, the book that you wrote before The Invisibles, the name is escaping me right now, is the one that I read. I have Invisibles actually coming on Amazon, so I'm really excited to read it.
Okay.
But I thought that first book was, I loved it. Okay,
so I've written 4 books. The first one was Black Men Built the Capitol, Discovering African American History in Washington, D.C. The second was The Invisibles. The third was Star Wars Finn's Story. And the fourth is The Black Panther. And I was actually talking to a class earlier this evening at New York University, their D.C. campus. And a student asked me, was there a common theme across all of the books I've written? And I said, yes. The common theme is history, because I've written nonfiction history for Black Men Built the Capitol and The Invisibles. And with both Star Wars and The Black Panther, I'm also writing the history of those 2 characters, their origin stories.
It's modern mythology, correct?
Fictional history, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you have one student who says, you know, fictional history is an oxymoron. It can't be fictional history. I'm like, but you know what I mean. It's the thread across everything that I do has been finding the origin story and telling it. And so that's the common thread across all 3. The origin story of the monuments in DC where Black Men built the Capitol, the origin story of the slaves who lived inside the White House with the Invisibles, Finn's origin story, and now T'Challa's origin story in Black Panther. So it's been a great ride so far.
So do you have like an affinity for DC? Because I just feel like you do when you were right. Like that was a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears. It seemed like in that research in both those books.
Well, one of the things I actually teach creative writing now at Goucher College in Towson, Maryland. And one of the things that I tell my students is that you should write what you know. I've now lived here in DC for 17 years. This is the longest I've lived anywhere outside of Mississippi, where I'm from. So I consider myself to be a Washingtonian now. And so when it came time for me to write, I wanted to write about something that I could see, that I could feel, that I could touch. And that was Washington, D.C. And there are so many great stories here to tell. I still have my next nonfiction project will probably be about Washington as well, because I'm here and I have great access to all the things I need in Washington, D.C. So, I mean, I love this place, and it's great. It's just an honor to be able to write about it.
Any more Marvel or DC novels on the horizon, so I can go pre-order them?
Well, hopefully I will have something to announce soon, but I'm not gonna. I can't spoil anything quite yet. But hopefully I'll have something to announce real soon.
But it's in the genre.
Let's just say hopefully I'll have something to announce real soon.
Okay.
So.
Let us know. We can spread the word and then come back and talk about it. We occasionally talk about other things in comic books, Philip.
Well, I know for sure that I have a couple of nonfiction projects coming up, but there might be some good news on the other front as well sometime soon.
All right, we totally look forward to it. It was great having you. Anything else you want to pitch? Your Twitter, Facebook, your website? Well,
you can always find me at my website, which is www.jessejholland.com. JESSEJHOLLAND.com. And I'm all over social media on Twitter and on Facebook under the same name.
And if anyone has an extra $600, and if anyone has an extra $600, go pick up Who is the Black Panther.
There you go, exactly. Or you can just send it straight to me, and I'll find you an autographed copy.
Oh, nice.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Have a good night. Sir. I love
talking. That was fun, Phil.
I love talking to creators, especially when they're nerds like us.
When they're nerds just like us. Yeah.
He knew Marvel, DC. He knew his stuff.
He and Charlie would get along very well. Like he was like Fantastic Four, Avengers. I was just like, oh, Charlie would just light up like a Christmas tree.
Oh, me too with that stuff. He's like Wally West Flash. I'm like, yes, that's where I started.
You know, we love our Ginger.
Yes.
So right. I guess we should do our shameless plugs.
Yeah. If you want to get a hold of us, especially if you're another author, I mean, look how well this interview went. capesandlunatics@gmail.com. Contact us. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter @CapesLunatics, and our voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. Even if you're just a fan, if you got a book you want to recommend to us, please recommend it. Lilith?
Well, if you guys want to live tweet Black Lightning Legends with me Mondays and Tuesdays, follow me at Lilith Hellfire. For everything else, at Adventures in FG. You can find me at Adventures in FG on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram. And Philip?
You can always get a hold of me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am at nightwingpdp. And yeah, keep an eye on the Capes and Lunatics and the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks, our second podcast, since we have so much to say.
When you have too much content, you need a second feed. Are we going to make a YouTube feed for that one too, or
no? Everything's going to be
on. Keep it.
If you're a fan of YouTube, yes, everything will be on one feed. Yes.
All right. Awesome.
But
just checking.
And if anyone wants to read ahead, this was our special for the month of February. March will be Ready Player One.
And Philip just finished it. So, just a little sneak peek. What'd you think?
I liked it.
Okay. And we'll leave it at that.
I was gonna say we don't give him too much yet. Yeah.
No. So if you read Ready Player One in preparation for the movie, please do send us some of your thoughts.
Yes, Jet. Yes, Jesse.
Because we'll review the movie too.
Listen to her. It could be good. I mean, I like the book. I'm interested to see how they like adapt it. Like
The adaptation of it, because there's so much that they can't get into for rights reasons. I mean, they're trying to be the modern day Roger Rabbit is the way that I'm.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I wonder if they.
And nobody's playing ball with them, so
that's what I was wondering. I'm like, did they get all the rights to all that stuff?
I think that's maybe why Steven Spielberg had to step in as like a buffer, maybe. Let's see. I'm interested to see the adaptation for sure. So.
All right. Well,
until next time, I guess.
That's right. Until next time, this has been your Capes and Lunatics Book Club. Jesse J. Holland. Go get Who is the Black Panther if you can find the copy. You might have to get digital.
$7.49 on Barnes and Noble and $4 on Amazon for the digital.
Okay. I was gonna say, yeah, that has to be digital. Or $600.
That's what I want to know.
What?
I haven't seen a Nook since. Where's a Nook? I haven't seen a Nook since 2008. Since Barack got sworn in, to be exact. That's the last time I saw a Nook.
Unless somebody's mom or grandma is still hanging on to one somewhere. I don't know.
Everybody uses an iPad. Everybody knows that.
I was gonna say,
or Kindle.
Yeah. Conda forever.